I was walking down the hallway with a glass of water in my hand when I heard her voice through the crack in the guest room door. At first, I thought she was on the phone with her mom. Her tone was soft but cold, like she was bored out of her mind. Then I caught what she said. I don't feel anything for him anymore. I stopped in my tracks. I didn't breathe. My hand tightened around the glass. She kept talking, like I wasn't standing 20 feet away. Like I didn't exist. It's been months. I tried, but I can't fake it anymore. The words landed, but they didn't even sting at first. It was her tone that cut me open. Not angry, not upset, just done. Like she was throwing out a pair of old shoes. Like I was a chore she couldn't wait to cross off her list. I stood there, holding that stupid glass like it was the only thing keeping me upright. My mind tried to push back, tried to spin it. Maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe she meant something else. Maybe it wasn't even about me. But I knew. Her voice had no hesitation, no guilt. Just flat, emotionless truth. My wife was in another room, telling someone she didn't love me anymore, and she sounded completely fine with it. Quick note, before we go on, tell us where you're watching from right now. I couldn't hear the other voice. Maybe it was her sister, maybe a friend, but whoever it was, she trusted them enough to spill the truth, that I meant nothing to her now, that she had already checked out of our marriage, quietly and fully, while I was still pretending everything was fine. My legs felt heavy. I was locked in place, like moving would make it all real. I could hear her pacing, soft footsteps on the carpet, still talking, but I'd stopped listening. I'd heard enough. I turned and walked straight to the kitchen, put the glass down slowly so it wouldn't crack. My hands were shaking. I didn't say a word to her that night. I didn't even look at her when she walked past me to go upstairs. She didn't notice. Of course she didn't. That was the moment it all broke, and from that moment on, I knew exactly what I had to do. Not argue. Not beg, not cry, no. I was going to let her feel what it's like to be ignored, dismissed, and replaced. But first, I needed to disappear from her world, right in front of her face. The next morning, I woke up before she did. Usually I'd bring her coffee while she got dressed. I didn't. I made mine, sat at the table, and scrolled through emails while she moved around upstairs like nothing had changed. When she came down, I didn't even look up. No good morning, no smile, no casual small talk. She glanced at me, half expecting the usual routine, but when she realized I wasn't paying her any attention, she kept walking. That was the first test. Over the next few days, I stopped doing all of it. No more asking how her day was, no more reaching for her hand on the couch, no more checking in to see when she'd be home. I didn't even ask what she wanted for dinner. I cooked what I felt like, ate in silence, and left the dishes in the sink. If she wanted to clean them, fine. If not, I didn't care. We still slept in the same bed, but that was all it was now. Just a bed. I stopped facing her. I stopped adjusting the blankets to make sure she was covered. I stopped listening when she sighed, like she wanted to talk. She didn't notice right away. Or maybe she did, but didn't want to admit it. She still made comments about her day. Small ones, like she was fishing for conversation. But I gave her nothing. One night she said, "Rough day at work?" while we were eating. I didn't even glance up. It's same as always. She nodded, clearly waiting for more, but I kept chewing and stared at the TV like she wasn't even there. No follow-up questions, no effort. By the end of that week, the silence between us had weight. We weren't fighting. We were just nothing. Existing in the same space like two strangers who barely remembered what they used to talk about. And she still didn't bring it up. That's when I realized how far gone she really was. She didn't ask why I was acting different. She didn't ask if something was wrong. She didn't check in. It was like she thought this was just another quiet spell, and I'd snap out of it eventually. But I wasn't planning on snapping out of anything. I started coming home later. No explanations, no heads up. Just walked in whenever I felt like it, sometimes grabbing takeout for myself without asking if she wanted anything. She noticed that part. I could see it in her face when she looked at the empty bags in the trash. Still, she didn't say a word. At dinner, we'd sit across from each other like co-workers forced to eat in the same break room. I'd nod when she spoke, maybe grunt out a "yeah" if she said something that required acknowledgement, but I gave her no emotion. I wouldn't even look her in the eyes anymore. One night, I came home around 9. She was already on the couch, half watching something on Netflix. I walked in, kicked off my shoes, and headed straight to the shower without a word. When I came back down, she was still sitting there. She looked up. You already eat? I shrugged. Yeah. She paused like she was about to say more, but then she just nodded and looked back at the screen. That's when I knew she felt it, the gap. But she didn't want to address it because that would mean confronting what she'd said, the conversation she didn't know I heard. My silence was eating at her, and she couldn't figure out why. I could see it in the way she moved, more hesitant, more aware. Her confidence around me was cracking. She used to fill the house with her presence, her voice, her footsteps, her commentary about random crap. Now, she stayed quiet longer, like she was waiting for me to take the lead again, like maybe she'd pushed it too far and wasn't sure how to walk it back. Too late. I became a ghost in that house, still physically there, but emotionally erased. And the best part? She was too distracted or too proud to say a damn thing about it. The next morning, she lingered in the kitchen longer than usual. I was by the sink, rinsing my mug, when she spoke. Hey, is everything okay with us? Her tone didn't match the question. She wasn't worried. She sounded like she was checking a box, saying what she thought she was supposed to say. Like asking made her the good wife, and that was enough. I didn't look at her. Yeah, I'm fine. She waited, like she expected more. I gave her nothing. When I turned to leave the room, she started to speak again, but stopped herself. I heard her take a breath, then the shuffle of her slippers as she walked the other way. That was the first crack. Over the next few days, she started fishing more. A little comment here and there, like she was testing how far I'd drifted. You've been quiet lately. You're coming home late a lot. You're not sleeping well, are you? Each time, I kept it short. Nods, shrugs, one-word answers. I never looked her in the eye. I wanted her to feel what it was like to be ignored by the one person who was supposed to care, just like I felt when I stood in that hallway and heard her check out of our marriage like it was nothing. She started hovering more, following me from room to room with made-up reasons, folding laundry in the bedroom while I changed, pretending to scroll her phone in the kitchen while I cleaned up after myself. Like proximity could make up for the fact that she didn't actually want to talk. She just didn't like the silence anymore. I stopped making coffee for her in the mornings. Used to be automatic. 2 mugs, hers with a splash of almond milk. Now I only poured 1. The first morning I didn't. She stood in front of the machine like she forgot how to use it. She didn't say anything, but I saw her glance at the empty second mug spot on the counter. Her hand hovered like she might pick it up, but she just grabbed a travel cup and left without a word. I didn't kiss her goodbye anymore either. Used to be a habit. Light kiss, drive safe, move on with the day. Now I walked right past her like she wasn't even there. Sometimes she'd hesitate near the door, waiting for it, like she still thought we were on autopilot. Like muscle memory would bring us back to normal, but I wasn't moving backward. I wasn't giving her that comfort. By the 3rd day, she tried again. You sure you're okay? She asked while I was grabbing a beer from the fridge. You've just seemed off. I shut the fridge, cracked the beer, took a sip. Just tired. She stared at me for a second. Tired from what? I met her eyes, briefly, and then looked away. Work. It wasn't just the words that rattled her. It was the delivery, flat, dismissive, done. She didn't know how to handle it. I could see her calculating whether she should press harder or let it go. She let it go, walked away with a tight nod, like she was convincing herself it wasn't worth pushing, but it was getting to her. Her voice was softer now when she spoke to me. Her body language had changed, more hesitant, more careful. Like she didn't want to trigger something, but didn't know what she was avoiding. The control she thought she had was slipping, and I wasn't giving her a single lifeline to grab onto. I kept the silence going, every morning, every night, every cold shoulder. I layered it until she couldn't tell if I was mad, indifferent, or just done. She was starting to wonder. She was starting to doubt. And I made damn sure she sat in that discomfort, alone. That Friday night, I was already planted on the couch, half watching some crime doc when she came downstairs in sweats, holding a bowl of popcorn like it was some kind of olive branch. She stood there a second before saying, I thought maybe we could watch something together. I didn't even glance up. I already started something. She hesitated. Well, I can watch it with you? I didn't respond. I didn't pause the show. I didn't shift over. She sat down anyway, way at the other end, like she knew better than to try and close the space. After a few minutes, she started asking random questions. Nothing meaningful, just fluff. Do you think that guy's guilty? No idea. She tried again. You used to love this kind of stuff? Remember when we watched that Making a Murderer show and stayed up all night? I didn't answer, just took a sip from my beer and kept my eyes on the screen. She gave up after a while, didn't even finish her popcorn. The next day I got home late, around 10. She was sitting at the kitchen table, not eating, just messing with her phone. As soon as I walked in, she straightened up. "Where were you?" "Out." "With who?" "People from work." She tilted her head. "Who?" I opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, cracked the cap. "Just people. Doesn't matter." She didn't push after that, just sat there like she wanted to say more but couldn't find the angle. The confusion was starting to show in her face, little furrows in her brow, that tight jaw she got when things didn't go her way. Over the next few days, she kept trying to slip in fake normal moments. "I'm making spaghetti tonight. That okay?" I shrugged. "Sure. Do you still like garlic bread, or should I skip it?" "Whatever." She kept doing that, digging for some familiar version of me to come back. But all I gave her was indifference. She even tried physical contact once. We passed each other in the hallway upstairs, and she put her hand lightly on my arm, like she was testing the water. "You good?" she asked. I stepped away like it was nothing. "Yeah." She didn't reach again after that. The silence was heavier now. She couldn't hide from it. I could see the questions stacking up behind her eyes, but she didn't have the nerve to ask them out loud. I wasn't giving her any opening, and she was too unsure of her ground to force one. She'd lost the power she used to have, the certainty. She used to walk around the house like she ran it, chatter in the kitchen, blasting music while she did her hair, calling out random thoughts from upstairs. Now she moved quieter, slower, like every step might set something off. I let it all sit there, the tension, the space, the looks she gave me when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I watched her flinch a little every time I walked in a room and didn't say anything. Watched her hover near me like she wanted to talk, then turn and walk away when I stayed silent. It was starting to wear on her. I could see it. One night she leaned on the kitchen counter while I ate. "You've been distant lately." I looked at my plate. "Just tired." "Of work?" "Sure." She sighed. "I feel like I don't know what's going on with you." I wiped my mouth and stood. That's not new. That shut her up. I walked past her and headed upstairs without looking back. I could feel her eyes on me, but I didn't give her the satisfaction of reacting. That was the difference now. She didn't have control. Not anymore. She used to be able to talk her way through anything. Now, every word felt like it hit a wall. I gave her nothing, and it was driving her insane. And the best part? I didn't have to yell, argue, or beg. I just let her stew in her own silence. She wasn't in charge of this marriage anymore. I was. 2 nights later, she tried something different. I was sitting at the kitchen table scrolling through my phone when she walked in, dressed in jeans and a blouse she used to wear on our date nights. "I was thinking maybe we could go out to dinner tonight," she said, casual like it wasn't a big deal. "There's that new Italian place on Broad. I made a reservation for 7. I didn't even look up. "I'm good." She paused. "You don't want to go?" "No." Her voice dipped. "Why not?" "I'm tired," I said flatly. "And I'm not in the mood to sit through forced conversation." That hit her. I didn't need to look at her face to know it. She didn't say anything for a second, then mumbled something like, "Okay," and walked out of the room. No slammed doors. No snarky comeback. Just quiet. She was starting to get it. The next morning, I was pouring cereal when she reached out and touched my arm, soft and slow, like she was testing a boundary. "Are you mad at me?" she asked. I flinched, just enough for her to notice. I didn't answer right away. I walked over to the table, sat down, and started eating. I don't know what's going on," she said behind me. "Yeah," I muttered. "You really don't." She stood there for a few seconds before walking out. That was the last time she tried to touch me. The physical space between us had become just as wide as the emotional gap. We passed each other in hallways like strangers, shared the same bed without speaking. I stopped pretending to care. I stopped playing the role she needed me to play. She tried again a few nights later, this time with food. I came home to candles lit and the smell of something she clearly spent hours on. Chicken parm, salad, garlic bread, the whole effort. I walked in, nodded at the table, and said, "I already ate." Her jaw tightened. "You couldn't have told me? I didn't know you were cooking." She stared at me like she was waiting for some kind of apology, but I wasn't giving her one. "You used to tell me if you were going to be late." I grabbed a beer from the fridge. That was before. Her voice cracked a little. Before what? I took a long sip, then walked past her. That silence afterward stretched out for the rest of the night. She was unraveling, slowly. Every attempt she made bounced off like she was trying to hold water in her hands. She didn't understand the new version of me, didn't know how to handle a man who no longer needed her validation, who no longer cared if she smiled or cried or begged. She paced around the house more, started talking to herself while cooking, tapped her fingers on the counter, checked her phone constantly. She wasn't in control anymore, and it showed. One night she asked, "Are we even trying anymore?" I looked right at her. "Number, you are. I'm done pretending." She didn't say a word, just stood there blinking like she didn't know what hit her. I went upstairs. There was no more hiding the shift. No pretending like we just needed a weekend away or a deep conversation. I had stopped responding, stopped adjusting my tone to make her comfortable, stopped showing up in the ways I used to. She wasn't just losing me. She'd already lost me. She just hadn't accepted it yet. Every moment she reached for me and came up empty was one more nail in the coffin, and I made sure to keep it that way. Later that week, we were both in the bedroom, her folded on her side of the bed, scrolling her phone in silence, me leaned back against the headboard, pretending to watch a game on mute. The tension wasn't new. What was new was the way she kept glancing over at me, like she couldn't decide whether to say something or stay quiet. Eventually, she got up and walked to the bathroom, shutting the door behind her. I didn't move, just stared at the black TV screen in front of me, until her phone lit up on the nightstand. One buzz, then another. I glanced over. M. My stomach didn't drop. My heart didn't race. It was more like flipping a switch on a light you already knew was dead. The preview lit up right there on the lock screen. Last night was worth the wait. I picked it up. Just enough to read the rest. Next time, we're not leaving that bar without finding somewhere more private. That was it. No more theories, no more mental gymnastics, no more doubt. She was screwing around, and I had proof now. Undeniable, phone glowing in my face proof. M, the same guy she'd mentioned months ago in passing. Some marketing rep she barely worked with. Always at the same off-site events. Always just a friend. That was her story. And now, it was dead. I put the phone back exactly how I found it. Didn't even check the other messages. Didn't need to. The bathroom door opened. She walked out in her robe, still drying her hands. Saw me sitting exactly where I'd been before. I didn't look at her, didn't blink, didn't breathe heavy. Just kept my eyes on the screen like nothing had happened. She walked past me, crawled back into bed, and picked up the same phone like it wasn't a loaded weapon sitting in her palm. No mention of the texts. She scrolled, smiled a little, probably replying to him 2 feet away from me. She had no clue I knew, and that gave me the edge I needed. Up until then, I'd just been pulling back, letting her feel the loss, letting the relationship decay in silence. But this shifted everything. Now I had purpose. Now it wasn't just about withdrawal. It was about control. She thought she had the upper hand, thought she could drift out, land somewhere softer, and leave me confused, begging, wondering what went wrong. Not anymore. I lay down next to her, not saying a word. She turned off her lamp like everything was fine. Like we were still playing house, and the mess she made wasn't inches away from me. I stared at the ceiling for hours, not from pain, but clarity. This wasn't emotional distance anymore. This was war, and I wasn't going to lose. By the next morning, I had a plan. While she got ready in the bathroom, I took her phone from the nightstand and sent the screenshots to myself. Every message from M, every flirty emoji, every lie wrapped in a digital smile. I deleted the sent items, tucked the phone right back where it was, and acted like I was just brushing my teeth when she walked out. That was step 1. Step 2, I hired a private investigator. Not some sketchy guy from Craigslist, someone clean, professional, and fast. Gave him the basics: name, car, workplace, general schedule. He didn't ask a lot of questions, just nodded and said, "Give me a week." That week, I played it cool. Cold, but quiet. I didn't say anything different, didn't ask any questions, didn't give her a single reason to think I knew what she was doing behind my back. I still came home late, still avoided her eyes, still let the silence stretch until it became part of the air between us. She tried to act normal again. Cooked dinner a few nights, mentioned a new show we should try watching, asked if I wanted to join her, and a couple of her coworkers for a weekend lunch. I declined everything. The investigator sent me daily reports, timestamps, photos, locations. She met M twice after work, once at a downtown bar, once in his car in the far corner of a parking garage. They kissed, laughed, lingered longer than coworkers do. Another night, she told me she had to stay late and prep for a big presentation. The photos showed her in a booth with M, sharing drinks and leaning in close, her hand on his arm. I never asked her about her day. Never once questioned where she'd been. I already knew. After a few days, I started tracking her myself. She was predictable. Same routines, same excuses, same stupid smile on her face when she thought I wasn't watching. She'd walk through the door like she was doing me a favor by coming home. I kept my distance. The colder I got, the more she tried to re-engage. Not full-on desperation, but the cracks were widening. She'd text me during the day, "Want me to pick up dinner tonight? You good? Need anything?" I'd respond with short, clipped answers. "Already ate." "Fine." "Nope." At night, I sat on the couch scrolling through my folder of evidence. Dozens of time-stamped photos, chat logs, call history. She had no clue. The power shift was complete. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was focused. Every lie she told made me sharper. Every time she walked past me with her fake smile, I mentally logged the way her eyes darted toward me, nervous, like she knew something was coming but couldn't figure out what. She didn't know I'd already won. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to bury her in the truth, and do it so clean, so calm, she wouldn't even be able to breathe. Not yet, though. She was still walking around like she had the upper hand. Let her. She wouldn't see it coming. That night, I got home just before her. I heard the garage door creak open as I sealed the envelope. Thick, white, unmarked. Inside, screenshots, printed texts, the private investigator's photos, timestamps, dates, lies laid out in full color. I placed it dead center on her pillow, neat, deliberate, waiting. She walked in 5 minutes later, dropped her bag by the door like always. I didn't say a word, just sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling my phone like nothing was coming. She kicked off her shoes, pulled her hair up, and started her usual bedtime routine. Makeup wipes, face wash, lotion. Took her time, probably thinking we were heading into another night of silence. She walked into the bedroom, drying her hands with a towel, and stopped cold when she saw the envelope. Her eyes flicked to me, then back to it. "What's that?" I didn't answer. I just stood up, walked past her, and leaned against the doorframe with my arms crossed. "Go ahead." She picked it up slowly, her hands already shaking, peeled the flap open, pulled out the first few pages. I watched her eyes dart back and forth, the blood drain from her face. One page, then another. Then the texts from M. Then the photo of her hand on his chest in that downtown bar. She froze. Her voice came out small. "Where did you—" I cut her off. "Doesn't matter." She blinked hard, jaw tightening like she was about to speak, but nothing came out. She looked down again, flipped through the next few images, visibly trembling now. I stayed calm. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't ask a single question. I wasn't here to debate anything. I already had the answers. She finally looked up. "I can explain." I shook my head once. "Don't bother." She stepped forward, holding the envelope like it might catch fire. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I looked her dead in the eye. "I don't care." That hit her harder than anything else. She flinched, like I'd slapped her without moving. "I thought we were just falling apart," she whispered. "I didn't think you—" "Yeah, you didn't think." I let that hang in the air. She looked down at the papers again, her thumb brushing across the edge like she could erase it. Are you leaving?" I didn't answer right away. I stepped back into the room, grabbed a pillow from the chair, tossed it onto the foot of the bed. "You're sleeping downstairs." Her mouth fell open, but no sound came out. I wasn't yelling, I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. "I'm not playing house with you anymore," I said. "I'm not eating your fake dinners. I'm not pretending like this is fixable." She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but then closed it again, like the words collapsed before they made it out. "You made your choice," I said. "Now live with it." She clutched the envelope to her chest like it could somehow shield her from what was happening. She looked around the room, dazed, like she'd just woken up and didn't recognize where she was. "I didn't know you were capable of walking away," I finished for her. She swallowed hard. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. Yeah, I said. I'm sure he made it sound a lot smoother in your head. She looked like she wanted to cry, but didn't know if she was allowed to. I wasn't giving her the space to break down. I wasn't giving her anything. She sat down slowly on the edge of the bed, still holding the envelope, still staring at the photos like they might rearrange themselves into a lie she could live with. I walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" she asked. I stopped, hand on the frame. "To sleep. I've got work in the morning." She didn't follow me, didn't try to stop me. She just sat there, surrounded by the truth, too stunned to move. I didn't look back, didn't give her one last glance, one last moment to grab onto. I heard her crying later, somewhere around midnight, quiet, controlled, like she didn't want me to hear it. I did. I just didn't care. The silence between us wasn't tension anymore. It was final. And that was the real punishment. A week later, I grabbed a suitcase from the closet and started folding shirts. She was in the kitchen when I unzipped the bag. I knew she'd hear it. Footsteps came fast. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes locked on my hands as I shoved jeans into the bottom of the case. "Where are you going?" I didn't answer, just kept packing, socks, charger, dress shoes. She took a step in. "You're just leaving?" Still nothing. I walked to the dresser, grabbed my cologne and watch, dropped them in on top. "You're not even going to talk to me?" Her voice cracked. "After everything?" I zipped the bag shut. "Say something," she snapped. I turned to grab the duffel from under the bed. "I made a mistake," she said, desperate now. "I know that. But don't you think we should talk before you throw everything away?" I looked up, slow and calm, then straightened and stood in front of her. "You threw it away. I'm just cleaning up the mess." Her eyes welled up. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I walked past her, duffel in one hand, suitcase in the other. She turned, blocking the hallway. "You can't just walk out." I stopped right in front of her, gave her one look, flat, detached, and said, "Watch me." She moved. I walked down the stairs toward the front door, the weight of every lie she told packed right along with my things. "Please," she said behind me, "can we just sit down for 5 minutes?" I set the bags down, grabbed my jacket, and slid it on. She took a step closer. "We can fix this. We can—" I cut her off with a cold smile. Just one. No words, no sympathy, no invitation for anything more. I opened the door, stepped outside, and didn't look back. Not once. No second thoughts, no hesitation. I didn't need closure. I needed distance. And I finally had it.